All right, if I could get everybody seated, we'll get started here. My name is Kevin Riley, and I've been with the Boy Scouts of Chester County for a number of years, running Dick Vermeil's golf tournament. And one of the great aspects of today is there's going to be a whole floor dedicated to Coach Vermeil. So, as Elizabeth Taylor said to her 8th husband, we won't keep you long. Now, I always got to get grounded as an Eagle guy. Do we have any Dallas Cowboy fans in the house? Oh, good. I won't have to talk slower. But really, before I introduce Nick, I got to tell you, last week I got 10 grandkids, and every week they give me something to laugh about. I'm doing a Villanova game broadcasting last week, and I invite my son and his 6-year-old to join me in the booth. We're on Paoli Pike, and Beau is in the back seat in his child seat. My son's driving, and he gets pulled over on Paoli Pike by one of the finest there in the township, and he was doing 4 miles over the speed limit. And man, was he upset. Officer goes back to his car, and he's so upset, he's getting enraged. And I said, look, he said, you'd say this guy doesn't have a target. Tell me he doesn't have a target. I said, oh, calm down. It's a beautiful day. I said, you don't want to wreck it with this. Let's let this go by. And from the back seat comes, yeah, Dad, this happens to Mom all the time. And so I started laughing, and he said, Dad, you're not helping out. And Beau says, yeah, Dad, and you know what? If you're really nice to the officer, he might let you off. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've known Nick Jeffrey since 2016 when he joined us for the Dick Vermeil golf tournament under the aspects of Bradford and White, where he was the CEO. He is currently on the board of Chester County Boy Scouts and serves as their Vice President of Development. Nick recently retired as CEO of Bradford White Corporation. As many of you know, Nick donated the first $100,000 towards the Dick and Carol Vermeil Leadership Center that will include the entire second floor in the new PARC Resource Center. Nick truly is an individual that gives generously of his time, talent, and treasures in support of our greatest asset, our children. He's also not a bad golfer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good friend, Nick Jeffrey.
You're tall, Riley. Thank you, Kevin. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chester County Council Boy Scouts of America groundbreaking of PARC, the Program Activity and Resource Campus. Thank you for joining us and supporting this landmark event in the history of our Boy Scout Council. PARC is the first new program property to be developed by and for Chester County Council since the 1920s. 100 years. PARC will serve as a vital hub for volunteers, community members, and scouts, and will incorporate into the construction many environmentally sustainable building technologies and maintenance-free features, as well as offices for staff members who support the programs. The council staff and volunteer areas will be based on the first floor, together with meeting rooms and a spacious new updated scout store. You know we need one. Most importantly, PARC has been designed to accommodate and support all youth, including those with diverse interests and ideas, as well as with varying physical capabilities. Age-appropriate and ability-specific programs and equipment will be offered so everyone can participate in both indoor and outdoor activities. PARC will be seen and serve as a valuable resource in maintaining a high quality of life for the entire Chester County community. As part of the $5.2 million campaign, Kevin Riley and I are heading up $1 million effort to dedicate the second floor of PARC building, the Dick and Carol Vermeil Leadership Center. So far, we've raised $700,000 for this effort. As you may know, Coach Vermeil has hosted a golf event for the Scouts for the past 27 years and is serving as our honorary chair for the PARC project. Coach sends his regrets that he and Carol could not be with us this morning. They had prior travel plans. Coach is so excited about this groundbreaking. We talked about it for so long. The Dick and Carol Vermeil Leadership Development Center, located on the second floor, will feature a meeting and program delivery room where Scouts can assemble to work at learning and earning rank achievement through the mastering of Scouting merit badges. Additionally, there will be a well-equipped STEM lab. The STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And you know how that important that is for us to be competitive in this country, for our children to be competitive in a global economy. The STEM Center will be a huge community gift for all the community to enjoy. And this multi-purpose room that will accommodate 300 people. So if you want to have a Scout wedding, we're ready for you. Before I turn things over to our Master of Ceremonies, I would like to recognize some of our key supporters, major donors, and distinguished guests. You have no idea of the impact that your gifts will make on this community. We are so grateful for what you have done. The late Ozzie Lasko made a tremendous lead gift to kick off this project. And we are delighted that the members of his family and foundation are with us to celebrate today, including Mrs. Vivian Lasko, Bill and Janet Lasko, Gail Hoffman, and from the following Lasko Family Foundation, Mr. Maury Hoberman. Thank you. Robert Tabus and his wife Janine, representing the Tabus family, donors of this amazing property. And I had an opportunity to meet that really. Thank you so much. Russ and Nancy Neubauer, longtime scouters and early investors of the PARC campaign and underwriting the Great Hall on the second floor of the new center. Thank you. Partner in crime, Dolores Hegerstrom, past president and PARC volunteer campaign manager. And if you know Dolores, she is all in with everything she does. And she has been quite a mentor for me. And she gives me the energy to keep doing this and getting better at it. And thank you, Dolores, for everything you do year in and year out. We appreciate it. My good friend and partner in raising money for the Boy Scouts, former Philadelphia Eagle, Kevin Riley. Our wonderful friends at Pico and Exelon, Joe Kowalski, Scott Newman, and Bill Swall, whom we'll hear from later. They have a nice battery there. This is awesome. The $250,000 redevelopment state grant sponsored by Senator Dinniman. And if you know the senator, you know it's not only the Boy Scouts. He is active in all community opportunities, and he is always our voice for all of us out there in our community. Thank you, Senator. Craig Haddon and the generous Haddon family. I know I should have did it at the end, but everyone deserves applause for what they've done. Chuck Moore, Chuck Baker, and the Raymond James Trust. One of my first introductions to this wonderful opportunity, our Executive Director, Charlie Rogers. Officer John Stewart and the West Whiteland Township Police Department. Chad Carey and Otto's Mini BMW for being such good neighbors. Steve Curlin of Stroud Water Research and the Bentley Brothers for establishing the partnership with Stroud Water and the Boy Scouts. And if you have the opportunity to take a property tour today, you will notice the Stroud Station set up here on West Valley Creek, just behind the tree line. This is just one of many, many more community partnerships in the works for this property. I would now like to recognize the following major contributors who could not be with us today. Dan Hilferty and our longtime friends and supporters at IBX, Thayer DuPont and Chris Grunder of the Longwood and Welfare Foundations, early investors in the park, the late Ken and Joanne Tinnell and their daughter Jean Swope and her husband Doug, Jack First. Thank you from all of our hearts for that. And we are grateful for the multitude of supporters who wish to remain anonymous, including several of our board members who are with us today. And finally, I would like to recognize our elected officials who have joined us today. Pennsylvania Senator John Rafferty, Pennsylvania State Representative Dwayne Milne, Pennsylvania State Representative Eric Rowe, from the office of Pennsylvania State Representative Stephen Barra, Rachel Micarelli, County Commissioner Terrence Farrell, and again, Pennsylvania State Senator Andy Dinniman, whom we will hear from today. Thank you one and all for being here today. Ladies and gentlemen, as we break ground today, we're about 80% of our financial goal, thanks to many of you in the audience today. As the word spreads in our community that PARC is being built, we stand ready with our board and development team to engage prospective investors who will make up the last 20% we need to finish this project. We can't go all this way and not finish this wonderful project. So what I'll ask, and I realize we're talking to the greatest donors and people who care about scouting, but it's also about passing the word. If you know, it will be a community gift. So if you know someone in the community, whether it's an individual, a corporation, who would have an interest in helping our children grow and learn and become better through this PARC Center, please let them know. And we will be more than glad to meet with them, give them some opportunities for naming rights. So whether you're a community, whether you're a person, whether you know of someone, this is a wonderful opportunity. What a wonderful tribute that you could do by honoring scouting and honoring the community with this PARC Center. It's just so exciting. So we're 80% of the way there. We need 20% more. So let's get going. Pass the word out through the community, through Facebook, through social media. Any way to tell our story would appreciate it. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our MC for today. Doug Sterling is a former Cub Scout and Weeblo Scout and currently serves as the pastor of the Bible Evangelical Church in Kennett Square, PA. Back in the 1970s, this church was the chartered partner for Boy Scout Troop 203, which Doug's father served as Scoutmaster.
Sir, you're still in the
Additionally, you may know Doug as the host of the morning magazine show on Chester County's very own radio station, WCHE. And we know Doug will be giving us lots of props. Would you all join me in welcoming our MC for today, Doug Sterling.
I didn't know I was such a wonderful guy. Can I have that for my wife? I'd like her to read that. Thank you, everybody, for coming out this morning. This is a wonderful situation, wonderful recognition for a wonderful organization, as he mentioned, a former 50 years ago. I think it was almost 50 years ago when I first became a Cub Scout in Weeblo, and then a Boy Scout in Troop 203. So I have many fond memories of learning all the different knots and things and first aid kits. And my first girlfriend, Resusci Annie, for CPR. Remember that? My very first kiss, I believe, as I recall. So anyway, we're having a wonderful time, and thanks again for everybody to have come out here today on this. It really is a beautiful day because of the spirit that's here. We're going to go ahead and get started with the program again, and it is now time for us for all to rise. I invite you to rise to our opening ceremony conducted by the Scouts from Chester County Council Troop 76, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, the Scout Oath, and the Scout Law.
Scout salute or hand over heart. Face the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All Scouts and Scouters, please remain standing. Everyone else can be seated.
Scout sign. Start off them all. On my honor.
I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Scout is
Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
I feel a lot better about the future of America watching those young men. Mike Berg is a longtime supporter of Scouting, including past council president. Mike continues to serve the Boy Scouts as the PARC campaign chairman. Mike is also partner of the law firm of Saul Ewing, Arnstein, and Lair. Please welcome Mike Berg.
Good morning, and thank you all for your support of PARC. Nick did a fantastic job of thanking various foundations and individuals with great enthusiasm. Thank you, Nick. We're all here today for different reasons, primarily to support Scouting. I thought about it last night. In addition to my wife telling me to stand up straight, I wanted to have a few personal reflections. So my journey here started as a Cub Scout in the little town of Lynch, Kentucky, continued through Boy Scouting, and I gotta say it was the most formative, important experience in my life. Continued through my son's involvement with Devon 50, became an Eagle Scout. And my dad passed away a couple years ago at age 90. When I cleared out all the family pictures in his study, I took down a photograph from the 1930s that was his absolute favorite photograph of him as a young patrol leader in front of leading a group of about 12 boys near Harrisburg in a snowstorm. It's a classic Boy Scout photograph. And that's what it's all about. It's about helping boys and girls learn to grow straight, strong, and to be great citizens. So I'm thrilled to have a role with Chester County Council as the chairman of the PARC committee, working with a fantastic group. And I think in my 30 years of adult Scouting leadership, this is the most important thing. This is a legacy moment for the Chester County Council, all of us assembled here today. So thank you so much. It all began about 9 years ago with the Tavis family and their generosity. And I remember very clearly meeting with Mrs. Tavis, Mr. Robert Tavis, who is here. His wife Janine and Jason are here today in an office in Narberth. And next thing you know, they've decided to make this wonderful gift of this fantastic 28 acres. So Tavis family, thank you so much. You got us started, and this is what it's all about. The building that will be constructed here is a part of what it's all about. The campus the opportunity for hiking, fishing, archery, all the other activities that will occur here are critically important. But the resource center that will be built here will be a lasting legacy for the Tavis family, and will be named the Daniel Tavis Family Resource Center. With that, Mr. Tavis, Robert Tavis.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Robert, and thank you, everybody. Thanks for such a warm welcome. I really appreciate being here and meeting those of you that I've met before and saying hello, and also meeting some new faces. Everyone has been very kind and welcoming, and my goodness, this is a very exciting project. We're so happy to be a part of it. To give you a little background, Mike, you mentioned my mom. That's Evelyn, and Mom is still with us. She'll be 94 shortly, and she sends her regards. She's not here today. Dick McElvain remembers at least my father, so I don't know if you ever met my mother, but she was the real force behind my dad. But it's very exciting. A little background: what was my family doing here, and why did we have this property? Well, my father, Daniel, had most of his business interests, or many of his business interests, in Downingtown, and it's starting in the '60s, the early '60s. So when I was a little kid, and this property kind of became an extension of a bunch of the land and properties that he acquired over the years. But most of his businesses were in Downingtown, the hotels, the Downingtown Inn, at one point known as Mickey Rooney's Downingtown Inn. And then we had the Tavis Hotel, the Downingtown Farmers Market, the golf course that my father built, the Downingtown Golf Club, and the hotel that was in front of that is not there anymore. It's a shopping center, as well as across the street, the old Farmers Market, which is now the Home Depot. But all those things were kind of developed by my dad. And while most of the business people around the neighborhood where I live, which was in Haverford and the main line, most of those business people were heading into Philadelphia for their business. My dad was driving west to Downingtown and right past this property day in and day out, and he was coming to Downingtown, and at some point he acquired the property, and then after Dad passed and doing some of the planning that was done, became appropriate to donate the property. And I can't think of a better use for this property. I'm so excited. We had no idea when this property was donated that the Scouts could do something like this, and everybody will get a chance to see more of this, I guess. But the particular use is so wonderful because of the valley stream that goes through here and the way this land lays out and what the Scouts will do. It's going to be really exciting, and personally I look forward to being involved further and being supportive of this project and the Chester County Scouts going forward. So thank you very much for having me, and good luck to everybody. Great job.
Where's our photographer? Gary, where do you want him? These two. Okay. That careful, Gary.
At this time, I would like to call up Dick McElvain, who is here to present us with the original deed to this property, which his family received from William Penn. Please welcome Dick McElvain.
Well, welcome everyone. Bye. In the late 30s, my father and brother took me to Washington, D.C. for a National Jamboree. And I shook Lord Baden-Powell's hand. My goodness, how many times years ago that was. All of my life, I started out being an engineer and gave it up in '56. The state decided to educate handicapped and retarded children. And I was always interested in that because I was handicapped myself. I gave up being an engineer and joined for Tuffins as a teacher. And along came in 1960 Dan Tavis and Ev Hoopt, who was a very good friend of my father's. And Dan and I sat in our kitchen and talked about what we would do. He said, "Mr. McElvain, I'm a speculator. I'll give you a little bit more what a speculator says. I don't know exactly what will happen, but we are certainly happy to buy it." And I certainly thanked him, and he said, "We will pay to help you to go to Columbia University to get a master's in special education," which I did in '62. As a short comment, before that, it took 8 years for me to get my bachelor's, and I ended up at Cheney University. I was one of the first white men to go to Cheney. I have a fond part of my heart because I taught in Coatesville, and I had a lot of mixed children, and I certainly enjoyed every minute of it. For 33 years I taught. I finally had to give it up, but due to the Tavis family, I certainly do salute you for doing something of this nature. I don't ever get school teachers started. I taught forever. I'm just so happy, and here is the original sales. And as I said, Dan took care of me for 4 years, paying me every year a stipend to keep my wife and 3 children here in Westchester, and I was in Columbia for 2 semesters. And I did it, and you were allowed 1 B, and you had to have A's. And I got to know Eunice Kennedy Schreiber quite well, and she helped me later on when I went back to Germany. I was in Germany, sent to Germany in the military, and she helped me. She was just beginning the Special Olympics, and she helped me set up a program for all branches of military in the Department of Defense to run summer classes for handicapped and retarded children. We found that the summertime off for these kids, they would forget, and it took 2 months to get them back on track. So this idea of the summer program, like scouting, and of course I was a tenderfoot. I was the youngest of 4 boys, and by the time I got to tenderfoot, I had had pretty much enough because we camped. And back in those days, right over here, called the Chief Hole, back in their family, they used to dip sheep, and it was our pool, our swimming pool. Today, everybody has swimming pool. We had the sheep pool. And behind it was we could devote water into an area behind where we swam, and we cut ice during the winter for our ice house. We had an ice house, and we carried by. We had two pincher-on horses, and Bill Vicky was the one who did a lot of those different jobs. But I don't want to go on anymore. I appreciate very much, and I'd like to see this. It certainly is a gem, and I'm happy to give it to be in someplace here. I'm sure most of you boys know McIlvaine Lodge. That was my uncle. He was quite a well-known architect, and it was named for him. We also went down one time. My father got the first Silver Beaver Award in Chester County. So we're old scouters, and thank God here's where they're going to be, and I'm so happy. You have made my life. Thank you. I'm looking at 88.
Well, you're doing a very good job.
They tell me I am. I am. I'm very happy.
Well, this deed will certainly go into a place of honor, and we, on behalf of the Boy Scouts, thank you very much, Mr. McIlvaine.
I also have to, because it was in the Yankees newspaper of the 15 and 10. I don't know how to forward with what we're doing today. So, thank you.
Thank you. As president of the Exton Chamber, our next guest is very excited about the amazing development happening here at PARC and throughout the Exton region. Would you please welcome Lori Kirkering?
I don't know how you follow, Mr. McIlvaine. I'm Lori Kirkering. I'm the president of the Exton Region Chamber of Commerce, and I'm honored and humbled to be here in front of you today at this momentous occasion. As a young girl in the 70s, I participated on the sidelines as wishing I was like my brothers and could be part of the Boy Scouts. My mother was a den leader, and I followed along. And my son in the early 2000s, that was in Delaware County, and in 2000s we were in the Chester County Council. My son got to Boy Scout and then realized camping wasn't for him. But I have seen what Scouting has done to develop the men in my life and the men that I work with on a day-to-day basis. And I've been a long-term fan and supporter of Boy Scouts. And just a few weeks after I became president of the chamber, I was invited to the breakfast introducing the capital campaign for PARC. And like all of you, I was crazily mesmerized, shared the word, tried to get the support monetarily and other types of support, and have been anxiously waiting for this moment ever since. To think of a property providing so many programs, activities, and resources on a beautiful campus for Scouts in Chester County, as well as the whole community, was such a beautiful thought. And I'm thrilled that now it is coming to fruition because of a lot of you in the room. I know we still have a long way to go, or a little way to go, and we are going to encourage this coming to life. So the Chamber looks forward to partnering with you for years to come. And on behalf of the Exton Region Chamber of Commerce, its Board of Directors, congratulations and welcome to Exton. Thank you for making Chester County a great place to live.
Well, as mentioned earlier, the Boy Scouts are fortunate to call Pico and Exelon friends. They have been loyal financial supporters of many scouting programs, In 2012, Exelon Generation CEO Ron DiGregorio was honored as Scouting's Distinguished Citizen and raised over $200,000 for Scouting. Exelon continues to be one of the lead sponsors for Dick Vermeil Golf event, and in 2017, PECO became a major investor in PARC with their lead gift of $100,000 for the Dick and Carol Vermeil Leadership Center here at PARC. Would you please help me and welcome Joe Kowalski from PECO.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of PECO, I'm very excited to be here today for the groundbreaking of the Program Activity and Resource Campus. Every day at PECO, we are committed to making a difference by strengthening and supporting the communities we serve. I am proud to share that in the last 5 years, PECO has provided over $1 million to deserving organizations in Chester County. Today, we're here to celebrate another deserving organization, Chester County Council, Boy Scouts of America. On a personal note, having been involved in scouting for over 30 years, it is pleasing to see facilities like PARC be developed to further and expand the scouting program. I'll now turn it over to Bill Swall, Vice President, Operations Support for Exelon Power. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I got to tell you, I'm just overwhelmed with the stories and happy to be here. We've been part of the Boy Scouts, the golf outings, I've mentioned, honored our Ron DiGregorio a couple years ago for a number of years. I have to tell you, I'm very impressed with innovation. We do a lot of work around Exelon to always improve. And when I walked in here today to see the Kevin Riley putting the mud on the back here so these stands would stay, it was very innovative, but we missed a couple of flags, so it was very impressive. I wanted to say a couple things. Special thanks to the elected officials. What a tough job these days, and everything going on, and just your leadership is very much appreciated. Senator Dinniman, I had the opportunity to meet you in 2007, and just a quick story. I was at the Crombie station as a general manager, and they had this sojourn event that took place for a week-long event that kayakers would come down, starting upstate Pennsylvania, and make their way to Philadelphia on kayaks. So as they passed by the station, we thought it'd be a great idea to, as we love to get involved in the community, to go out and offer refreshments, talk about the company a little bit, and provide some food. And lo and behold, the senator shows up. We're in the woods. He's dressed as he is today, and he comes in and meets everyone, talks to them, and he goes a step further. He'd like to maybe get in a kayak and experience what everyone is experiencing. Now, what happened to me was I wanted to do the same thing. I didn't go a week long, but I did it for a day. And no one told me you needed sort of a river kayak. I had an ocean kayak. So the 90 sojourners were about a mile in front of me, and I'm trying to keep up in this ocean kayak, and I got a nickname called the Ocean Man. Well, I had a two-seater. So when they said the senator wanted to, go into a kayak, I said, well, he can come with me. Oh, okay, that's a great idea. Now I'm a nervous wreck. It's 95 degrees. And I'm thinking, how is he going to get changed to come down? Well, takes his shoes off, rolls up his pants, takes his jacket off, and we go off for a little journey down the Schuylkill River. But I was very impressed with his leadership, and just to all the elected officials, thanks for your service and your leadership in this time, in this day. So, I won't give you a bunch of facts about Exelon and PECO. Everybody goes, what's Exelon, what's PECO? If your lights go out and you have power problems, call Joe, okay? I will be happy to give you his number. You give him a shout. He's on the side of the world that distributes it, which you can see over here, the poles and wires. I'm on the side of the world that makes it. And I can only, think about and reflect as I walk in here today about the experiences I had, and just some messages to you, the experiences that you're going to have over here. And I didn't have that opportunity. But when I grew up, I did have, some very fortunate opportunities. But I thought about my day as I thought, when I started at PECO and Exelon, and the company was 5,500 employees, and now it's 35,000, and we're the largest clean energy company in the country. I'm so proud to be part of a company that gets involved in things like this and in the community, and wants to, really embrace our employees, that they can volunteer and be active in the communities we serve. And I think about all of the opportunities the company has given me, as I sit here the 24 years that I've been involved with Exelon and PICO. And I think about how we are getting involved in a lot of the STEM programs. And when I hear the stories and the great people before me here with what they went through in their leadership and probably not having this opportunity over here, my message to you is take full advantage of that. And you know what the future is going to bring and the challenges, this is just a great advantage to have something like this, and thankful to the people that have pulled this off and the hard work that they've done to make this happen. So just a round of applause for everyone. The last little message I'll leave you with, and I like to talk about this all the time, safety is so important. It's so important in our business. It's important in everything we do. Right, and we have a lot of tools that we put in place that make sure that our employees and folks are safe every day. But if you come to work or you come to start a project or whatever you do in the future, I like to always say, think about the 3 most things that are important in your life, right? And they're different for everyone. But whatever they are, that's why you work safe, and always think about that as you encounter future projects, okay? So good luck, and thanks again for having us be a part of this.
Well, speaking of Senator Dinniman, if you pick up a paper tomorrow, you're going to may see a picture of him, but you'll see a picture of him also in 3 other places at the same time. We don't know how he does it. We think he's cloned himself. But known by the people of Chester County simply as Andy, State Senator Andrew Dinniman is recognized as a leader in education and an advocate for communities and families, and might add animals as well. Through 3 decades in public service, last year Senator Dinniman sponsored a state grant request on behalf of the Scouts and the PARC project, along with an endorsement letter drafted by Representative Tim Hennessy and signed by all Chester County representatives and senators. The result was a grant in the amount of $250,000 to support this project. Senator Dinniman, thank you and welcome.
Well, good morning, everyone, and I do remember the canoe, and I was scared to death as we got towards the end because it's like a dam, and I thought we were going to go right over it. But Bill managed to get that canoe in the right direction. As we heard our speakers earlier, you understand you were hearing the history of Chester County because Ozzie Lasco, Dick McIlvaine, Dan Tabus, all made significant contributions to this county. And I'm certainly privileged to count as a close friend to Ozzie Lasco, and I'm so happy to see Vivian and his family here. Dan Tabus and I had many a discussion. I remember bringing Bob Casey, who was running for governor at the time, to the inn because Dan was hosting him that night. And so, and of course, Dick, thankfully, he and his family were the very founders of this county, and we are appreciative of all of them. I couldn't help but thinking, as that Boy Scout oath was repeated, that we'd have a better country if every politician took the same oath. Which, while I say jokingly, I also say seriously. We're in deep trouble in this country with our political divide, where no one wants to compromise anymore, where everyone thinks that everyone is self-righteous, where partisanship has gone off the grid. Picos, you know. But whatever the case may be, there's all these discussions going on now. How do we restore some civic virtue, some civility to the political process? We know that our students really know very little about government. Recently in the Senate, thanks to, and I want to appreciate the leadership of Senator Rafferty on this as well, I chaired the Education Committee, myself and several others, got a bill through, and it got through the House as well, which requires every student in Pennsylvania to take the same test new citizens take. Because what we found is that our own students couldn't pass the test. Now that's sad. And one of the reasons for that, by the way, is because we put so much focus on these crazy tests called the Keystones, which only tested 3 subjects. We forgot the rest of the curriculum. And the glory of American education, by the way, is a holistic curriculum. And thankfully, we recently also just passed we couldn't get rid of the Keystones, but so we sort of just de-emphasized them. So now you can graduate from high school, say you're in technical education. Instead of the Keystones, you get a certification from the national organization that certifies workers in that profession or in that trade. So what I'm saying is that we forgot history. We forgot civic education. Things that you and I all took in school that were the very basis of the strength of this nation for almost a decade. And we need to restore that. We need to just do and take into consideration all the values that the Boy Scouts teach. Think about it. If we really believe those values, and if more and more young people get involved in scouting, we don't have to worry about the future of this nation, do we? And the problem is that we've forgotten our fundamental values, haven't we? We've forgotten that we are all Americans. Now, I grew up in the Cold War, and at least we had a common enemy, the Soviets. Now we attack each other as if we're enemies. This is no way that a nation will survive, prosper, and be the light to the rest of the world. So it is the scouting movement, which is one of the key institutions that's going to provide us with hope. Hope because the scouting movement reiterates and makes sure that every child who gets involved in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, and now you can be involved in both, by the way, make sure that every child is socialized, grows up with a sense of the value of the land, with a sense of healthy living, with a sense that our society rests on the very purpose of helping others. And finally, in relation to that, when Dick was up here, your founders, the Quakers who founded this county, taught us a very valuable lesson. They told us that every person has the light of God burning within them, and that the way to honor God is to honor the other person, to do something good for others. And we have an obligation to, as other faith traditions have added to this, to together remember our legacy, the legacy that the scouting movement has kept alive. And when we do so, with this facility helping us, we'll have a great county and a great country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Patsy Farrell has dedicated many years to scouting in many roles, including council treasurer and council president. She and her husband Bill are proud parents of not 1, not 2, but 3 Eagle Scouts. In addition to a strong connection to the scouting family, Patsy also has a strong connection to the Lasco family. She had a lifelong career at Lasco Products and has recently retired as their treasurer. Please welcome Patsy Farrell.
Thank you so much, Doug. I was very fortunate to spend my entire career every day working with Ozzie Lasco and getting to know his family. He was a great leader in business, but he was also a wonderful friend to this community, and especially he loved helping kids. Growing up, Ozzie was a Boy Scout in Westchester Troop 6, and he attended Camp Horseshoe. On a personal note, that's another connection I have with Ozzie because my 3 Eagle Scout sons are also Troop 6 Scouts. Throughout his life, Ozzie always remembered how important scouting was to him. He and I talked about his scouting memories often, but he was also always very interested in hearing more about the current programs being offered for our local Scouts. Ozzie's been a longtime supporter of Chester County Council because he knew how our programs could be life-changing, especially for our underprivileged youth. He was an early supporter of this campus and his generosity was vital in helping us to kickstart our campaign. At this time, I would like to call on our Scout Executive, Charlie Rogers, as well as Ozzy's family, his wife Vivian, his daughter Gail Hoffman, his son Bill, and Bill's wife Janet to join us at the podium for a special presentation. Please come forward. In deepest appreciation for his generous contribution for this project and for all the support that Oscar Lasco has offered to Chester County Council, Boy Scouts of America, it is our great honor to announce the dedication of this campus to him, which will now be known as the Oscar Lasco Program, Activity, and Resource Campus.
Thank you very much.
Okay, for those who don't have a program, we're almost at the point where we're going to throw some dirt around. Let me just say thank you, a couple of comments, and now that I have the microphone, I will use my game show voice instead. Before you are 28 acres. They are currently a blank canvas upon which we're going to paint the future of scouting in Chester County. The magic of this project is not what it's going to do for these guys behind me, but what it's going to do for their sons and their grandsons and their daughters. Chester County has been extremely lucky to have the support of almost all of our elected officials at the county, state, and national level, and I think that's because they realize the strong scouting programs that we deliver improve the quality of life for their constituents. And so we're extremely thankful, regardless of your political affiliations. Next Tuesday is an important day, and we all have a solemn obligation as citizens to go out and choose the people we think most likely will represent us the best they can. Horseshoe Scout Reservation, our property down on the Mason-Dixon line, about 1,000 acres, has been in business for 90 years. This was the 90th anniversary. Over 100,000 Chester County kids have gone through those gates. Many have had their lives changed. However, not all of them hit the news when they go to camp. However, on July 17th, 1934, the Daily Local News thought it was an important enough thing to announce that Mr. and Mrs. Henry Lasco, Mrs. Edward Carter, and little Petey Himmelwright of Westchester motored to Camp Horseshoe, the Chester County Boy Scout camp near Oxford, Sunday afternoon to visit Oscar Lasco and Edward Carter, who are spending some time there. I read that, and that will follow up to something else. Because Mr. Lasco was a generous supporter, we would, from time to time, send him thank you letters. One was sent from a scout. We have some troops where the kids don't have the financial resources of many families in Chester County. And we often ask them to write a letter thanking people in general who have supported them. And so a scout named Christian wrote, "Dear friend of scouting, my name is Christian. I am a Boy Scout from Troop 619. I am a tenderfoot scout. I may never get a chance to meet you in person, but I wanted to thank you for your donation to the camping program. Your donation made it possible for me and other boys to enjoy a great summer camp experience. My troop is going to camp the week of July 29th. My best thing I look forward to doing at summer camp is climbing the rock wall. This is the first time for me to attend overnight summer camp. I am looking forward to it. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor. Thank you. I hope to get a chance to visit Horseshoe. I hope you get a chance to visit Horseshoe Scout Reservation this summer while I'm in camp. Thank you very much, Christian." Well, a lot of us get a lot of thank you letters, but not many of us take the time to respond. And Mr. Lasco saw the note, wrote a letter, and we hand-delivered it to Christian at camp. And so dated July 26, 2012, "Dear Christian, thank you for your note describing your exciting prospects for the camp program at Horseshoe. It was a fond memory for me. Enclosed is the article from the Daily Local News from 7/14/1934 describing my father and mother's visit to Horseshoe. It was almost 80 years ago to the day when I had the thrill you are having. I hope you will let me know how the rock climbing went. Enjoy your years in scouting. Best of luck, Oscar Lasco." I'm pleased to report Christian is a senior in high school. He is a life scout, and he plans to go to college and study art. Well, he knew he was going to do something good with his hands. He didn't know what it was. I think that really identifies the importance of scouting to Mr. Lasco and the type of man he was, that he would actually write back to a scout at the time when he was running one of the most important businesses in Chester County. I have an exciting announcement to make at this point, and I'd like to call forward the trustees of the Lasco Family Foundation. So we talked about Oscar's early support of this project. So scouts at this point, pretend you're coming forward. The trustees of the foundation will join me at the podium. We found out early this week that the Lasco Family Foundation has made a generous $400,000 challenge grant to help get this project to completion. As I told Vivian, one of our regrets is that we didn't get this project done while Oscar was alive, because he believed so strongly in it. This is going to help energize this campaign, get the final funding so that once the ground is set and the spring weather comes, the building can be erected in our 100th anniversary of serving the youth of Chester County Council. And so it is with deep thanks and appreciation and respect that we accept this grant. Thank you.
I have a connection to scouting. I was a Cub Scout, and I told Pat Farrell, I was a Webley den leader, the most difficult job I have ever had in my life. 12 10-year-olds for a year. I have never gotten over it. Everything else I've done has been all downhill from there. Oscar Lasco was the most amazing person I have ever met. He had a quality about him that was full of compassion, full of generosity, a very thoughtful person. He had more insight than anyone I have ever met in all my years. And he loved Chester County, and he loved scouting. And I believe, just the fact that he kept that clipping from 1934 for all those years,
meant something to him, and scouting meant something to him. And I believe that much of what he learned, and he expressed this, much of his sensitivity he learned through scouting. It's very interesting. I thought about this the other day, that those counselors and Camp Horseshoe, we don't know who they are, and obviously they're not here anymore, but they made such a tremendous impression on Oscar. He set up a project a few years ago to teach counselors at all camps sensitivity training for their campers. It left a lifelong impression on him. He had compassion, he had generosity, every good quality that I can imagine that any individual could have was something that Oscar had. And I think it all started, and he said it started with those years at Camp Horseshoe, where he, as a young boy, was accepted into a group of other friends in Westchester. Then, of course, was very small, but accepted into camping, into the Y, and he did also, and he helps the Y in Westchester for underprivileged children. He's helped the hospital, but I don't think there is anything that he would be more proud of than having his name associated with this property. Bill and I and Robin Lasko walked the property a couple weeks ago. It is an amazing property. When it is completed with Valley Creek and with the wilderness areas right here off of Route 30 in the center part of Chester County, so everyone has access to it. Young people will come here. Their parents can drop them off for a day and go on to whatever they're going to do. But it is such an incredible project. And we hope that the contribution that the Lasko Family Foundation has made, which is actually a matching gift. And so we're asking everyone here and everyone that we run into to help us match that gift so that we come very close to finishing the project. This land that the McIlvains owned from William Penn's time to the Tabus Foundation. Actually, Rob Tabus's mother was a patient of mine, so there is a connection. We hope and we look forward to the time when this wonderful building will be built and when these lands will be cleared so that the Boy Scouts can come out here camping overnight, maybe once or twice, doing the fishing. Valley Creek is an amazing center part of Chester County, and I believe that Oscar Lasko, looking down, would really love to see this project as it moves forward. So thank you very much, and thank you for matching our gift.
Just real quickly, I think Charlie had a great, the foundation went out and had the tour of the property, and we really enjoyed the tour of the property, and we went way back in the woods there, and there were streams, and it was very beautiful, but it was quite a trip, and Charlie took us and guided us through, and then stopped and said, if you don't donate, we're not going to fuck you out of here. But my father really loved this time with the Boy Scouts at Camp Horseshoe, and it was one of the few memories that I can communicate to you that he told me as he got older. He shared a lot of stuff with me, but this was probably the only one that I can obviously share with you. There were a lot of stuff that probably can't. But again, he really believed in opportunity to succeed, and particularly he was very fond of all youth activities, and the YMCA, and this was very dear to him, and he mentioned it to me many times, and I just appreciate being part of this foundation and some of his good work. So thank you very much.
Yep. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh, I think he got one.
Yeah.
Good? They got it. Yep. Okay, you guys can exit. So just on the note, after Bill's comments, not that anyone will take me up on it, but we are going to offer tours at the end. And after we do a couple photos, I'll be available here. The magic of this property lies beyond that tree line. Anyone who's ever walked the property, when you drive by, you think the Boy Scouts got a field on the side of Route 30. But if you think like an 8-year-old boy and you get beyond that tree line, you're in the wilderness. And you come to the Mississippi River. We call it Valley Creek. And if you fall in and remember to stand up, you're in absolutely no trouble. So it's just the right amount of adventure for our youngest scouts. And it's really going to be a fantastic project for generations of young people in Chester County. So I think at this point, we're ready to set up the first of the groundbreaking photos. Some places use very fancy silver shovels. The Boy Scouts are realistic, and at the end of the ceremony, the shovels will go down to Horseshoe Scout Reservation and be used by Scouts during the winter. So, a Scout is thrifty. So at this point, let's see, for the first picture, we would like all the elected officials from Chester County, the Tabus family, and Lasco family members to gather over here, and we'll do a quick photo there. Those who would like to throw dirt, can the others can stand next to those.
I'm over. You and I as he practices so much.
Okay, so there's Mr. Gentleman.
Okay. You can be in the middle, and you be in the middle.
Get out of the way.
The wrong way. Hey, this is it's all fake stuff, Andy.
I still have my garden going at home.
So I don't see the flag. Yeah, he did. Hey, you're the hero.
Great. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can we have the tables? Oh yeah, throw. All right, good. Can you guys stay there? We'll have the Tabus family come in on either side.
I think drones are the newest scout.
Yeah. Okay, great. Bring in a little closer. All right. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, if the tables step out, the politicians stay in. If we could have the Lasco family. There we are.
Oh, I was wondering what was in the
Can we have our friends from Pico Exelon? Gotta make sure we have power for the project. I hear your name.
That's okay. That's okay. It's all over. Here goes a crow. That was small. Don't worry about anything. I got
For all the past council presidents with us here today, if you could make your way up, we'd like to get the past council presidents into a photo op. After that, it would be PARC committee. Anybody from the PARC committee will be after the past council presidents. Pulled it off.
Not only am I your driver, but I got your shovel and your hard hat, okay? He's out there. Good. All right.
Oh, there you go.
Oh. All right.
Contributions were so great. I think people insisted that you get a picture of me and oh yeah. Merchant Marine
That's what we do for kids. Yeah, I will. Yep.